Dear lovers, this is the real life Cupid, and you're here with Wrestling with Entertainment. Love, Doug.
Reviewing the latest shows from WWE, AEW, New Japan, everything in between every Saturday, and interviewing all your favorite wrestlers on Wednesday. I am your host, that guy, James J., along the leader of Squash Squad, Kaliko Yachts, who is in Tampa Bay right now and not on this show. But somebody that is actually here, the American Scooter Dust, no longer imploded.
Has I magically unimploded. But do you think a guy who only has one ball has two strikes against him?
And it's a great day for wrestling. We are in the tail end of Wrestling with Mania week, a week-long show with me, Kaliko, Scooter, a lot of indie talent. Sunday we had our Wrestling with Mania trivia night, which Scooter won.
Oh, that belt. Oh, it feels so good around my waist. Oh, yes.
On Monday, we did a watch along with Becca and Little Mean Kathleen. That was really awesome. I mean, two girls that are really tearing it up in the independent scene right now. Tuesday, we did a watch along with Holden Albright. Uh, Maybe one of our most sexually explicit episodes ever.
I don't know. I mean, Masha did bring up a lot of ass references, but it's up there.
Definitely. On Wednesday, we interviewed our normal format interviewed we with Love Doug. Really passionate guy. Um, when they say, "Oh, that's a great gimmick," not an actual gimmick with Love Doug. He is actually that guy.
And not that, even more than that, he goes that extra mile. He interacts with fans on social media. You know, he's. I really hate to say the exception to the rule, but you know what? Maybe a better analogy is the needle in the haystack, in that he'll give you a small prick, but afterwards you're gonna feel just fine. Wait. Anyway, look, Doug is an incredible guy. Awesome. Listen to the interview. Follow him. And you know what? Follow him in real life too. We're encouraging that. We're encouraging stalking. He'll love it.
Nobody here at Wrestling with Entertainment. We do not accept the views and of our co-hosts. Viewer discretion is advised.
If someone's watching us, I'd be worried. Listener discretion is advised.
Moral to the story: do not stalk people. On Thursday, we did our watch along of the Wrestling with Mania Madness tournament. I won that one, and
by one vote.
I still won.
And, okay, you won, yes. Fair game.
And with that, Bret Hart and Owen Hart from WrestleMania 10 and Stone Cold vs. The Rock WrestleMania 17 is going into the Wrestling with Entertainment Hall of Fame.
I think it's a nice way to
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
where we have everyone else's Hall of Fames are people. No, we're gonna recognize the true matches that stand out. Some that may have been forgotten throughout time. Some you may hate, some you may love, but that's what's gonna make this Hall of Fame unique.
Without a doubt. And we may have some more watch-alongs and maybe a new format for the show coming up in the coming months as well. You could follow that on our social media page, our Twitter page, Wrestling with E, for whenever those details come out. Yesterday we did a watch along with DVN of her match against Ty Conti from AEW Dark. That was a lot of fun. Got some new insight on the match. Got some backstage news, behind the scenes stories as well. And we love and support DVN on the show. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. And maybe we'll watch along for next match on AEW TV.
Oh, absolutely. And speaking of AEW Dark, they recently had on the most recent edition of Dark, they had somebody who I broke into the business with, Rex Lawless, on, and I'm working on reaching out to him. We still keep in touch, and we could have our first male superstar AEW Dark watch along in the near future.
And of course, the show right now, and then a little bit later today,
For not dead.
WrestleMania, night 1 and night 2 tomorrow. If you're smart, how should people listen to it, Scooter?
Of course, you listen to it on the remix on UMB Sports 2, a division of the UMB Entertainment and UMB Sports Networks. All rights reserved. Copyright 2000 something or other. Of course, with me, Ed James, providing the still after 5+ years, the only live streaming audio alternate commentary podcast on the web today. Still unmatched. It is the friggin' unicorn of podcasts. And this is the what's another great mythical creature? The dragon? Dragon? Phoenix? Wrestling with is the phoenix that rises.
A jackalope?
Really? You want to be something like tiny and no. Phoenix! Be something mighty. I'm so tired.
Yeah, I'm so tired too. And I mean, after this we have to do the remix on WrestleMania. Then tomorrow more remixing. I'm just so tired. I mean, yeah, it was a lot of fun, but I think I'm gonna go take a nap on Monday. I'm not gonna wake up until we have to interview Von Virgo next Wednesday on the show.
I'm not gonna wake up. I'm not taking a nap. I'm taking a coma.
We'll make sure to wake you up before the interview. We can't have another spontaneous combustion on our hands. Now that we're done putting ourselves over, are we done putting ourselves over? Yeah, I think we're done.
Never.
Well, for this episode, on the starting on the news, not so great news. as a maybe a lesser known name, but a name you maybe should know, has passed away. Jack Venino.
Jack Venino, yes. Jack Venino, known in the Hispanic wrestling uh, community, one of the few Hispanic wrestlers to be NWA World Heavyweight Champion. And if the name sounds familiar, it's because Venino was a name in the Dominican Republic, but not a name anywhere else. He had a hardcore following in the Dominican Republic. And some of you may have heard this story before, but September 7th, 1982, Jack Venino challenging Ric Flair for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. The match ended when Venino applied a signature sleeper to Flair, with the bell ringing to signify the expiration of the time limit, as Flair's arm dropped for a third time. This was apparently supposed to be a a screwball finish and not and give doubt as to was Flair beaten or did the time limit expire. However, the crowd was so raucous, so rowdy, and ready for. They were ready to rip Ric Flair apart. And it probably one of the biggest audibles in the history of professional wrestling. Flair just tells Venino to beat him so that Flair can get out of the ring, get out of the arena, and get out of the country safely. That's how devoted the Dominican Republican wrestling fans were. Yes, the fans celebrated the apparent championship win of Jack Venino. However, the title change to this day is not recognized by the NWA. Um, and Flair would eventually get the title back. It would be surrendered back to Flair after Venino could not travel to defend it. He would not, or rather, he refused to leave the Dominican Republic to defend the title. Um, there's been a documentary on his life uh, titled Jack, La Historia de Jack Venino, um, produced by Venino's protege Benjamin Irish. Yes, that's his actual name. Venino retired from wrestling fully in 2000 and actually got into politics. Ran for the mayor of Santo Domingo Norte, North Santo Domingo.
Wow.
And in 2007 was appointed the Vice Minister of Sports by Dominican Republic President Leonel Fernandez. There is April 2019. There was a statue was erected in Venino's honor in the Eugenio Maria de Hostos Park in Santo Domingo, and April 6th, after a long battle with pancreatic cancer, Stage 4. Uh, Venino unfortunately passed away at the age of 78. Some accomplishments, in addition to being NWA champion, which we will recognize, uh, Dominicana de Espectaculos light heavyweight championship 6 times, Intercontinental heavyweight champion 2 times, World Tag Team champion 7 times with 5 different tag team partners. Uh, Dominican Wrestling Federation Caribbean Tag Team champion, Dominican Republic heavyweight champion, national welterweight champion as well, and WWC World Wrestling Council in the right there he goes, North American Tag Team Champion with Jose Rivera, a a name that most likely you'll probably see in a WWE Hall of Fame legacy class before an actual Hall of Fame, and it's unfortunately it's a shame, but I mean, then again, it's been a crazy couple of days for non-wrestlers as well. So,
That's correct. Um, and it sounds like, such a great legacy. And if anybody wants to see that documentary, you know where it's available?
it is available on the internet for free. Um, it was never actually apparently completed to its entirety. The footage was released on the internet. Don't know if there's an exact collection. We're still looking. Um, but if and then once we find out, we'll see if we can put a link out. Um, I also
Absolutely.
think I also think another unfortunate passing. I think we have to at least acknowledge because he's come up in a couple of conversations in our interviews with indie talent, and that's the unfortunate passing of DMX.
That's right. I believe he passed away yesterday.
And that's just, uh, I mean, uh, DMX is from New York, from my part of New York, part of the Def Jam. Uh, a couple of people mentioned the DMX coming out to music. I know, and this is why I'm kind of I'm kind of sad Kaliko is not here to take the reins on this one because Kaliko could say much more about this than I probably ever could.
Right.
So, so next week,
Maybe we'll do a little something more next week when
yes,
Kaliko is actually back in California. And of course, our thoughts and prayers go to both men's uh, friends and family. Um, Now getting back on news because it is WrestleMania Saturday. It was
uh,
announced
yes,
yesterday that Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks will main event the night one of WrestleMania, and Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley will be the first match on the card as well. Um, what are your thoughts?
we uh, and by the way, happy birthday to Bianca Belair. Uh, it was her birthday yesterday. Um, this started out as an attempt to get a hashtag to trend,
Seems like it
and
worked.
it worked. But I don't know how many. I don't want to. I don't want to cause a tiff here, but did this? Does this match have the build to really close out night one of WrestleMania? A lot of fans, from what I've read, don't think so because it's not necessarily a dream match. It will be a great match, but it hasn't
Possibly
had that
Bianca's
real
crowning
main event.
moment.
Yeah, but it hasn't had that main event build, the attention that a main event match should really have.
So
I
this
mean,
might be the first WrestleMania main event that kind of has a cold coming.
yeah. Uh, not and speaking of the women, a another match added. Tag team turmoil
Isn't that
for the
on the
women.
pre-show?
I you know, oh, they mentioned the women's tag title match happening on Sunday night.
Probably the pre-show as well.
Um, no, it is on the show.
Oh, alright. I mean,
It
it
is
took them
it
a
is on the
really long
show.
time to make that match official. I mean,
There were rumors of that this was gonna happen. Lana, Naomi, Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose, Riot Squad, Natalia and Tamina, Billy Kay and Carmella.
that's an eclectic little group there, if I
It's
say so myself.
it's the entire remaining women's roster at this point.
Oh yeah, just about. Um,
But
we're going, on the end of the show with Bianca and Sasha, and whether or not that match had enough heat to be the main event. Um, McIntyre and Leslie starting the show. I mean, can't get better, have a better way to start a Mania than literally your biggest star, right? I
I
think it
mean,
was discussed a couple months ago that they wanted McIntyre to be the first superstar to compete in front of the crowd.
yes, and I I really attribute this to uh, uh, Brock Lesnar going back to WrestleMania 35. He said, "Well, if we're not going on last, we're going on first." And now the first match of WrestleMania is now almost as important as the last match. Of course, this was pre-pandemic, so would it be a very interesting situation if this was one night. Um, if this was one night, it would still be Drew and Bobby Lashley. And I mean that's really that's honestly I think all we can really say, quite honestly.
Yeah.
There is there is one big rumor though.
Pertaining to Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch.
One of them. Now, you may have noticed that there's one particular one particular female superstar who's not on the card.
Baylay.
Bingo.
Baylay
That
Bingo.
don't take this as gospel, but we could be getting an impromptu Becky Bayley match.
That would be pretty cool. The same interview with Stephanie McMahon where she announced that Bianca and Sasha will main event WrestleMania. She also mentioned that Becky Lynch had contacted her about one of the WWE superstars attacking her in the maternity ward of the hospital. I mean, I would see it. What about you, Scooter?
Uh, I mean, are we sure it's not Seth?
Well, I mean, woman superstar.
Well, I mean, if Becky's the man. I mean,
Well, he would be in the. No, I'm not going there.
but I mean, the wrestling fans will put up with a lot. But will they? Can you really expect them to believe that someone was attacked in the maternity ward? Like that's even like even Tony Khan's going like, what are they smoking?
I
Vince
mean, it's
Russo
not
is
the
like,
first time they've done things in hospitals, Scooter.
true. And then again, it's a new era. I mean, Vince Russo is going like, you guys are fucking insane.
Well, it was Becky's idea.
Yeah, but was she still going through the epidural?
Maybe that's
I
a
mean,
conversation for another time.
I mean,
Um,
yes, that shows Becky's passion for the sport. That part of me thinks that Becky thinks that she might have been forgotten.
I mean, maybe a little bit. I mean, it's hard if you're not there, then you're out of sight, out of mind type thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And Sakura Genesis was last week as well. Will Ospreay is your new IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. Um, and he wasn't short on words to say. In his press conference, he had mentioned that he's the greatest British wrestler of all time, surpassing the British Bulldog, Pete Dunne, etc., etc. And he even went out of his way to mention Drew McIntyre and challenge him to a match, and CM Punk.
Punk. Yes, that was the big thing he heard, and of course CM Punk was contacted, and his response was, "Who?"
That's a Punk comment for you.
I mean, Will Ospreay is IWGP champion. That's gonna take New Japan in probably a much different direction.
Yeah. Uh, the thing he is champion right now. And we said, Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. He is actually going to wrestle a single Takagi in his first defense. And then whoever wins that match, Will Ospreay, will go on to wrestle Kazuchika Okada at Wrestling Grand Slam in the Tokyo Dome on May 4th or 5th, I want to say. Um, and yeah, I think Osprey is just a transitional champion because once again, Okada is going to be one of the torchbearers for the Olympics, and you want that guy as your champion. Am I wrong here, Scooter?
That's an interesting. That's an interesting concept. That that to give Okada the belt so that it will look good on television around the world, basically.
I mean, most of the world watched the Olympics, so yeah.
The question is, how many people will actually see Okada's leg of the torch, running?
It's a good question. I mean, if it goes into the arena, then a lot of people. And all you need is uh that nameplate that says Kazuchika Okada, IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, and people will know.
I mean, can you just imagine Okada passing it off to, Dr. Anthony Fauci?
I think it's one of the torchbearers is the oldest woman in the world currently. She's 104.
Well, she may not be tomorrow.
August is a long time away. Um, of course, I'd be shocked if Osprey actually wins that match. How do you think Osprey's run is gonna go? He has a month with it.
I mean, would somebody who calls out all those names, would you really expect them to have a short run?
I mean, Jay White did.
Yeah, but do you remember White's press conference after winning?
I do.
Okay, I stand corrected. Then, yeah, Osprey's transitional.
Alrighty then. I think that'll conclude our news for this week. And we are wrestling with NXT Takeover Stand and Deliver. Night 1 and 2 review. It was Wednesday and Thursday, so 2 days ago. Um, and it's first time NXT's ever done a 2 night show. How do you think that they how do you think they dealt with having a 2 night show rather than the one that they always do?
I think it I think it ended up working well. We had some initial doubts about maybe putting one of the two matches billed as co-main events from night 2 into night 1 to maybe balance it out a little more, but it ended up working really well. A absolutely solid performance from everybody involved uh, on both nights, and it it's things are looking bright for NXT as they take their place on Tuesday nights as part of the 5 nights of wrestling schedule.
And 2-on fight. Right. Let's get into it. The first match on the actual show is Pete Dunne versus he defeated Kushida. Probably NXT's two of the best in the world, Pete Dunne and Kushida. I'm a little disappointed Kushida didn't actually win this match. I mean, he's going 1-2 at takeovers at this point. It seems like
Yeah,
they're giving him more of the Sonata push rather than the Nakamura push.
and yeah, I mean, it seems we find ourselves saying, "God, if every time that they don't give Kushida a win now, he's screwed at this point." And I mean, at this point, I don't know if Kishida's just complacent in his position and just likes being there. And if that's so, good for him. But I don't know if I honestly have doubts that there's any real intention to make anything more of Kushida at this point.
You kind of think that it's like the how Nakamura felt when he moved to the main roster. He's in America. He's enjoying life. Um, that doesn't seem like the narrative when I knew Kushida from his New Japan days. He was very competitive. Maybe things have changed since then. I don't know.
I mean, it's very possible he could have ended up making out the enchantment under the sea dance with his mother. I
Possibly.
mean, I mean, at this point, I expect Kushida to kind of almost fade out like the picture in Back to the Future. But I will say this: it. I think I think they may move Kushida. I think they might move Kushida up.
To the main roster?
Yeah, and I think they probably will do something with him and Nakamura.
Interesting. I wonder if that will actually be the case. Um, Bronson Reed won the Gauntlet Eliminator match. I believe it was last week on the show. We were talking about how this had to be Dexter Lumis. This was his match to win. It turns out it was his to lose. Um, what happened here? I mean, it feels like Reed was kind of in a position to have the North American Championship maybe this time last year, but that kind of didn't happen because of, Corona and whatnot. Do you think this was kind of NXT's way to make good on that promise? Or just this was a swerve, bro?
I think they're testing I think they're really testing the waters with Bronson Reed. I think they really want somebody with the skill and agility of somebody like Bam Bam Bigelow, Vader, who's that big and can move in the ring. I mean, and the reaction for Reed was incredibly, positive, and like it was unexpected. That's probably what I liked the most. And having Reed win it probably didn't make a lot of people immediately go, "Oh, great. I don't want to see Reed versus Gargano."
No,
It made them go, "Ooh,
new
this could
blood.
be interesting."
And of course, we'll talk about that match on night two. But this you think Bronson Reed delivered what he needed to show NXT that he got the goods?
Oh, yes, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Next match, United Kingdom Championship match. Walter defeated Tommaso Ciampa. Probably the best match on both nights. Um, oh my god, this was an incredible match. Walter's so good, Ciampa's so good.
Yeah, and it only went 17 minutes. It felt like a lot longer.
And those are kind of the best matches, aren't they?
Yes. Oh, without a doubt. And there there was a lot of there was a lot of like, and yes, we noticed this in night two mostly, but there was a lot of almost like callbacks to other, previous matches throughout history and whatnot, and it like they went through how Walter originally won the United Kingdom Championship, um, and the fact that we saw Walter probably the most vulnerable he's ever been.
Especially how dangerous the Psycho Killer is.
But that's just it. He really wasn't the psycho killer. Qu'est-ce que c'est?
I get what you
Champa,
mean, but
yeah.
I think that was the closest version of the Psycho Killer we've seen since he's came back.
So kind of like Psycho Dad, Psycho Dad.
Yeah, I like that. So, do you see this going further, or was this a one-off?
More than likely a one-off. Um, I'm not sure if the WWE knows what its future plans for the United Kingdom Championship is, aside from it returning to NXT UK.
Fair enough. MSK, Wesley, and Nash Carter defeated Bridge of Young Veterans, and Legado del Fantasma to win uh, the triple threat match to win the vacant NXT Tag Team Championships. They are strapping the rocket to these guys' asses, aren't they?
Well, without a doubt. I mean, usually for new talent, there's almost an expectation of initiation, and no, not with MSK. They immediately, they bring them in after signing them. They give them the Dusty Cup, and then now they're the NXT Tag Team Champions.
Yeah.
They are in the top 3 of shortest amount of time to their first title reign after debuting.
That's incredible. It makes you wonder what may have been if Trey stayed with them and signed too.
Well, that just seems like an XXXL problem.
Next next matchup, the main event of night one. Raquel Gonzalez defeated NXT Women's Champion Io Shirai to win the title. We've kind of gone back and forward with this. We kind of knew Raquel was going to win, um, but it's still, too early to see if she was technically ready to win that championship. What say you, Scooter?
I mean, we expected this, the Diesel push, especially, after the whole big mommy cool thing. Funny enough, aside from the opening match, this was the second shortest match of the night. And
Probably due in part to Raquel's greenness.
yes, but at the same time, also probably Raquel's best performance, notwithstanding the fact that Dakota Kai got caught interfering, and therefore it should have been a disqualification.
Oh, without a doubt.
Right then
I
and
mean,
there.
sign red flag number one.
But is it Raquel's improvement, or is it Io's compatibility to work with anybody and get a good match out of them?
I take the latter. That being said, I see Io going to the main roster, possibly SmackDown. I think she kind of conquered everything in NXT, and it's kind of time to see what's out there for her on the main roster.
Just as long as we don't get Kabuki Warriors 2.0.
Oh God, no. Your thoughts on Sarai maybe possibly going to the main roster?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The women's division really does need a bit of
Fresh coat of paint.
injection, an infusion of fresh blood, and Io would definitely add to that.
For sure. On to uh, talking about night one on its own standalone. I don't think it's a question of a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle. On a scale to 1 and 100, what would you give this show?
A scale of 1 to 100.
Yeah,
Uh,
percentage.
I would probably give it somewhere around 75 to 80%.
Hmm.
Pete Dunne Kushida could have gone a lot longer. I mean, but other than that, I mean, this was a takeover. Night one was a takeover that was a typical episode of NXT presented as a takeover.
True. I honestly would go 90%. I didn't really see an issue with anything I saw. Maybe, even though it was Raquel's best match, maybe not the best match overall. But, I think the undercard really well made up for that. I mean, the Gauntlet Eliminator matches like that are usually clusterfucks, and I didn't see that in that match. I saw, good storytelling. So I think everything kind of aligned for that show. So that's why I gave it a 90%. On to night two, which was exclusively on Peacock. Uh, Santos Escobar defeated Jordan Devlin in a ladder match to become the undisputed NXT Cruiserweight Champion. Um, Great match. Escobar maybe a little bit underrated. Hopefully that's not the case going further.
It seems like there really should be more in the future for Escobar in terms of, I really hope he doesn't get shoehorned into being known as, just the cruiserweight champion, because he definitely could do more, and this proved that he could probably be higher up the card and deliver just as well.
Absolutely. What do you think about Devlin? Where does he go after this?
I believe they're pushing Devlin to be Walter's next challenger in NXT UK. I believe. Unfortunately, I don't pay that much attention to NXT UK.
That's what I was just about to say. If it happens on NXT UK in the woods, does anybody see it?
Takeover into the woods. I mean, you also have to remember there was also an NXT UK event that was technically taped that aired, 5 hours before night one.
No, Scooter. If Walter got on the plane, he got on a red eye, he quarantined, and then he was able to be in Tampa for that event.
Well, I mean, since the Prelude had an NXT UK title match, I don't know. Maybe Walter is leaping from body to body, hoping that the next leap will be the leap home.
Possibly. Next match, Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon defeated Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae to retain the NXT Women's Team Championships. Kind of seemed like this was kind of drawn on the show, but I think it was maybe their best match that they've had so far.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other way to say that. Quite honestly, I mean,
Well done. And next match up after that, Johnny Gargano defeated Bronson Reed to retain the NXT North American Championship. In short, Kaliko soundbite, I told y'all. Johnny Wrestling, Johnny
Johnny
Takeover.
I told y'all.
Yeah. Maybe
I
one
mean,
of my maybe one of the best reasons not to have him on this show. But he'll tell me after the fact anyway. But yeah, Johnny Takeover actually won a takeover match. Who freaking knew?
I mean, and this was no, no, no small feat on Reed's part either, because this was a hell of a performance from Bronson Reed.
Oh,
Good
without a
God.
doubt.
Guy pulled out a moonsault.
Yes. And a cartwheel.
Well, he always does the cartwheel.
But it's still impressive. I mean, he's a big guy.
Yes, there are a lot of big guys that can do a cartwheel. Not a lot of big guys can do a moonsault anymore. And I believe that was the first time he actually tried the moonsault.
I'm glad it didn't end up like Brock Lesnar's
Shooting star.
what was it called?
Shooting
Star
press.
Press. Yeah. Next matchup, NXT Championship match. Karrion Kross defeated Finn Balor to become the new champion. Interesting match. How would you describe it, Scooter?
I think how would I describe it? The Prince maybe got a little too complacent as champion and kind of left out that little extra spark, that demonic instinct that probably could have led to him retaining. But like Karrion Kross does, he made Finn Balor into literal Karrion, as Kross picked the bones clean and won the title back that he never lost.
Which is something NXT doesn't normally do. Do you think that Karrion is going to get a lengthy run now, or do you think they'll just wait? They're setting him up to lose to the next top babyface.
I think we're going to see a lengthy run from Karrion.
Huh? One thing that it was worth mentioning is the chanting from Scarlett. Almost,
Yeah,
and we talked about it on the remix. It was kind of like a voodoo chant, so to speak, that kind of gave him that extra boost to actually win the match.
yeah, and noticing, you know, I don't know how many people paid attention to it, but I brought attention to it. All of Scarlett's nuanced movements at ringside, that when Cross was in control, she was standing there and just being Scarlett. But when Finn Balor was on offense, her movements were a little bit more grand, a little bit more not exactly attention seeking, but deliberate in the attempt that it was apparent that Scarlett was trying to imbue Karrion Kross with some sort of extra power, extra ability, who knows? But it's something that if you're not a wrestler and if you're not an actor, you probably wouldn't have picked up on it.
Oh, without a doubt. If he wasn't paying attention to every little detail. And that brings it. I mean, you could kind of say that's kind of hokey, hocus pocus garbage. But keep in mind that they do have an ancient dragon lady that committed murder on the roster as well.
Who's 1,000 years old. So she's the oldest woman alive. No,
That shit is 2,000 years old.
2,000, fine. I guess that would make her the first millennial.
And that brings us to our main event of the whole shebang. Kyle O'Reilly defeated Adam Cole in an unsanctioned match. Very different from the Ciampa Walter match, but probably the only thing that could come close to it. No, Scooter?
Without a doubt, 40 minutes of
It did not seem that long.
unbridled carnage. And not only that, unbridled carnage chock full of Easter eggs.
A week after Easter.
Like, you called attention to the Axe and Smash jacket. And the Axe and Smash was a move O'Reilly hit on Cole during their Wrestle Kingdom match in 2017. The chains coming into play a great deal.
Which was another finish of one of their old matches.
This was almost as if this was the fourth movie in a series that was originally supposed to be a trilogy.
The end game?
Not necessarily the end game, but a horror trilogy that where they go through where the ending to the previous one is now the false ending.
I see.
And it turns into a whole new, unexpected endings. This is explained a lot better if you watch Scream 4. Not a reboot.
I saw a Scary Movie 4. Does that count?
Go to your room. Just go to your room.
I am in my room.
No,
Just check under the bed. You're not there.
This was knockdown, drag out, match of the year. And if Pro Wrestling Illustrated doesn't see that, you know what? I think we've got a magazine to burn down.
Pro Wrestling Illustrated, I think Dave Meltzer in general, if he gave Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa a 10 stars for their lights out match, this should have been a 20-star one. Just considering all the history that they had going into the match before they did it.
Yeah. Without a doubt, this was, and I even said this is when the time comes to induct an NXT match into the Wrestling With Hall of Fame. This is going to be my first choice.
That's a big compliment to both of these guys. So, that being said, how would you rate night 2 on a scale from 1 to 100?
99.9%. And I take off 0.1% because I really wanted to see Shotzi Blackheart's tank malfunction and just keep going in circles.
I give it an 89. I thought night 1 was better. I thought that, just from a pure wrestling standpoint, which I prefer, that made it all for me. Night 2 was more of the gimmick matches, so to speak. But what say you, Scooter? Do you feel night 1 was better or night 2?
Night 2. And I have Meltzer's ratings in front of me. And son of a bitch doesn't go higher than 4.5.
Am I going to see you in California soon?
You might see me on wanted posters soon for questioning the disappearance of Dave Meltzer.
Well, keep in mind he is here, so in California, so yeah. Yeah, Uncle Dave. That being said, overall, night 1, night 2, everything as a whole, it kind of seemed like everything fit the way that it was supposed to be and kind of be what fans wanted. No, Scooter?
Without a doubt.
Now the question is, with WrestleMania only a few hours away, will it stand and deliver like NXT did?
Time will tell. Time will tell.
Alright, and now conclude our coverage of NXT Stand and Deliver review, night 1 and 2. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, both on YouTube and Castbox. Catch us this Wednesday as we interview Von Vertigo. If you want to hear us before that, WrestleMania is a couple hours away. How should people listen to it, Scooter?
Only on the remix. UMB Sports 2 kicking off at maybe 7, maybe 8. Graphics says 7. We might just say screw it, just go out at 8. But listen to it on the remix, only on UMB Sports 2.
And you can find everything Wrestling with Entertainment on our official Twitter page, news going on, new interviews coming up. The links to those interviews at Wrestling with E. You can find us all individually. I'm at JamesJ993. Where can they find Scooter?
Of course, you can find me performing your colonoscopy, and you can find me on Twitter at Scooter Dust and hold it down for the UMB network at UMBS Wrestling.
And of course, you can find Kaliko at I Am Kaliko. Don't forget to, if you see a guy in a white and red WrestleMania jersey, take a picture of him. Send it at Wrestling with E. You might get something.
I'll tell you what. If anybody out there listening can provide us with a picture of Kaliko in the crowd at WrestleMania, they will earn 3 free months of Peacock.
Ooh.
Courtesy of me.
For Kaliko Yacht Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling with Entertainment.
I told y'all so.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.